Hi there, you're listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. My name is Matt Wakeling and this is my show where I interview leading guitarists and guitar figures from all around the world. Thank you for joining me for episode number 94. Now today I speak with Scott Ian, who is a founding member of the US thrash pioneers Anthrax, the band who alongside Metallica, Megadeth and Slayer are regarded as the big four of thrash metal. Scott joins us backstage during an Anthrax and Slayer show to talk about starting the band in the Bronx, why he's not interested in categorising music, his creative pursuits beyond music, such as writing books and performing in TV series, Malcolm Young, a huge hero of Scott's, and Jackson Guitars, and perhaps most prescient, his upcoming spoken word tour. All right, let's jump straight in. Here we go. Scott Ian from Anthrax.
Hello.
Hi, is that Scott?
Yeah, speaking.
Oh, hi, Scott. It's Matt Wakeling from the Guitar Speak podcast in Sydney, Australia. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great, mate. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're super busy. Actually, I know you're in the middle of an Anthrax tour as we speak.
Yep. Yeah. I'm listening to Slayer right now.
Seriously, that's awesome. That's so cool. Well, mate, thanks again for your time. I'd love to talk about Anthrax and Slayer and all that stuff, but of course we are. The priorities talk about the one-man riot tour when you come to Australia in September to bring your, for want of a better phrase, I know, your spoken word tour.
There's no priority. You can talk about whatever you want. I don't care.
That's cool. Well, let's talk about your tour first, because that's super cool and it's pressing, and then we've got a bunch of stuff. So you obviously love storytelling. What was the impetus to bring that to the stage and tell these stories live?
I was telling the stories live for years before I wrote a book. The books came out of me telling stories live, basically.
Okay, yep, gotcha. And what is it about sharing your life, I guess, so publicly that you love? And obviously you're into stories as in fiction as well, because there's a whole other side to your career. But sharing what I think you've called an insane life with your fans.
Well, everything I say is super important, and of course, I think everything I have to say, everyone will be interested in. As a guy who's been in a band for 37 years, of course, people need to listen to everything I have to say, no matter how mundane it may be. I mean, that's partially true, because who in their right mind wants to get up on a stage and tell stories? It just so happens I have some stories that are just really funny. I have a lot of stories that are really funny, and I figured my friends laugh at me, and they've heard them 100 times. So maybe people that don't even know me and they're only hearing it for the first time will really think it's funny.
Sure, that seems like a good plan, and it's obviously been working pretty well so far. As well. I think I read somewhere that you're really into Henry Rollins, and you loved his books, and then seeing him take his stuff on the road as well.
Yeah, but that never motivated me to want to do it. I never ever once thought I wanted to go tell stories. I got an offer 5 or 6 years ago to do a show like this in London the night before Anthrax was going to start a tour, so I was going to be there anyway. And it was just out of sheer curiosity to see if I could do it. I had every expectation that after 30 minutes of silence, I would just say, "Okay, thank you, good night," and my curiosity would have been solved. But it went the other way, and I talked for 2.5 hours, and I had a shitload of fun and wanted to do it again.
Yeah, awesome, man. Very cool. You've got a lot of creative interests. Like you've written comic books, you've been involved in TV and films. So all this stuff aside of Anthrax and aside of the other musical, I guess, interest. Have you always been a creative person? Have you always looked for different creative outlets?
I don't think of it that way. It's not creative outlets. Is it fun or is it not fun? Uh-huh. That's literally how I make decisions, because I'm not looking for more work, and I'm never looking for reasons to leave home. It's just sometimes I get offers to do things, and it's a really simple question. Am I going to have fun or am I not going to have fun? And if it seems like it's something I'm going to have fun doing, then it's worth exploring.
Sure.
And I get tons and tons of offers for things that I say no to all the time.
Okay. Yep.
But there's things like getting to be on The Walking Dead. That, for me, that certainly sounded like fun.
So you were one of the walkers on that show, weren't you? And then you got taken out.
Yeah.
That's got to be fun. That's got to be a lot of fun. You also, whilst you're doing your tour here in September, you are stopping off at a couple of comic cons, and you have written comics for DC. I guess that's another example of a fun opportunity that's come up for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's how this whole thing started. Coming to Australia to do talking shows is I got offered to come be at Brisbane and Sydney for the Comic Cons they're having there in September. And because they're on the weekends, I had a whole week off in between. So that's when I asked my agent, hey, I'm going to be there for a week. So instead of me going to sit on a beach somewhere for 5 days, maybe I could go do some talking shows, because I never get to do them. I just, schedule-wise, it's just, like I said, I'm not looking to leave home. And but I was going to be there anyway. So he looked into it, and people were interested in having me come do talking shows. And that made me even more excited, because now not only do I get to come to Australia and hang out at Comic-Con, but now I get to do talking shows too. So it doubled the fun.
Nice. Very cool. And then I noticed you're pretty much back on the road to Europe. Anthrax are touring Europe later this year. So that looks like a pretty good
and I still, even when I get back from Australia, I
2018.
still have about a month off before we go to Europe. So yeah, it works out great. Yeah.
When Anthrax started, you guys were, well, now, of course, Anthrax is regarded as part of the big four of thrash metal with Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer. Did you sense at the time that you were part of a new evolution of metal? Or how far into it, I guess, were you before you thought, okay, there's some momentum here, there's a new movement happening that we are part of?
Well, in 1987, we definitely knew things were changing, because when Among the Living came out and we started touring on that album, we were playing small clubs, and I mean, they were sold out, but it was, 400 people. Maybe the biggest show was, 800 or something. But just 7 months later, by the end of 1987, we were playing to 6,000, 9,000. We were playing giant shows in just 7 months. So, yeah, I mean, we obviously, we had tangible evidence that things had changed drastically for our band and other bands that, in our scene. And, it was amazing. It's like, where did all these people come from? People just really caught on, and there was obviously a void of some sort that we were filling, because all of a sudden, we went from, like I said, we were playing to 10 times as many people in just 7 months. So, it was pretty amazing. We didn't realize it at the time that we were part of some wave, but, looking back on it, certainly, we were definitely a part of something that was bigger than just our band. It was all of us together, and not just the four of us, a lot of other bands too. We were all part of this wave of, we didn't even call it thrash metal yet back then, but 83, 84, when all these American bands started making records, it literally started a wave that crashed in a big way 4 years later in 1987.
Bands like Metallica, they were part of the Bay scene in San Francisco. So there was bands like Exodus, and I guess bands like Testament followed on. You guys were from the Bronx. Did you have any other bands that you were working with, or there was any affinity with?
No, there was zero scene in New York City. There was no metal scene. The only thing going on in the early 80s was cover bands. If we would try and get shows at clubs, and they would just tell you to go learn a Van Halen cover set and come back when we learned Van Halen songs. I mean, there was no scene at all. We didn't. I mean, the only other band, and I didn't even know it then, but because it wasn't like there was social media or anything, but that band Overkill was from New Jersey.
Sure, yeah.
And they were around back then too, but we didn't even know them because there was no scene. Not like there was a punk rock scene.
Yeah, right.
And there was a hardcore scene like down at CBGB's, but there was no metal scene at all. Zero. We didn't know any other bands. There was nothing going on for metal. It was basically something that, by 82, 83, when things started to happen for us, then a scene started to happen around us, and by other bands coming and playing New York. It all grew.
Okay.
Because Metallica came to New York, and Anthrax and Metallica played shows together in 82 and 83, and that kind of kicked things into gear. And I guess
it wasn't too long later. I guess the later 80s, early 90s, you started linking rap, and your work with Public Enemy is very well known. I think I've read somewhere you've said you've likened the intensity of rap to the metal you guys were playing at the time. What did you see in rap that
just moves me in the same way? Well, I should say it moved me. The rap that I was listening to from around 81 on, I just got the same. I've never broken music down into genres. I don't categorize music. I like it or I don't. I don't care what genre it is. To me, music is music. It either moves me or it doesn't. And rap moved me the same way rock did.
There's certainly the same sort of intensity, just delivered in different musicianship, of course. But that intensity obviously makes a really great fit.
Sure. I don't analyze music either. I just feel it. I don't think about music. I experience music.
I've read you learnt guitar. A big deal for you was working out AC/DC albums.
Pretty much, yeah.
And particularly Malcolm's work. You're a huge fan.
Yeah, of all the bands I was into in the 70s, definitely the AC/DC certainly had the biggest influence. I mean, they're still my favorite band. And certainly as a guitar player, I would just sit with the albums and just go song by song and learn the chords. That's all I would do.
Can we talk guitars? You've been with Jackson Guitars for a long time. How did you first hook up with those guys?
Well, they turned me down in like 1985 or 86. I wanted to play Jackson's and become an endorsed artist. And so did our old original guitar player, lead guitar player, Danny Spitz. And they said they would endorse him, but they wouldn't endorse me because I wasn't a lead player, which I took very personally, and I didn't understand that at all. But I won't hold it against. I mean, back then it was just one who worked there who felt that way. So it took a few more years, and then the band got a little bigger, and then all of a sudden Jackson wanted me to play their guitars, which I was still very happy about because I love Jackson. So
there's been a bunch of Jackson signature models for yours. What's the latest Ian Scott signature?
I've got the Flying V, Jackson King V that I've had. I don't know. It's been about 2 years now, probably. That's because I have two. I've got a soloist and a King V.
Yeah, nice. Now, the soloist, that's a solid maple body, if I remember correctly. Is that true?
Not all of them, no. I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's different configurations. I don't know that there's one. I don't think it only comes one way. I think if you were to custom order one, you could probably get it in any wood you want.
Okay, nice. Very cool, very cool. And are you still using Seymours? I think you were using JBs for a long time.
Yeah, same pickups.
And where are you now? I'm trying to get the time difference sorted out between Sydney and the States. Are you in Arkansas tonight? Is that where you're gigging?
I'm in Arkansas, yes.
Yeah, nice. So Slayer are on. Have you guys already played? Or are you on next?
Slayer literally just finished. Tom just walked past me to his dressing room.
That's very cool. Very cool. And have you already played, or are you guys coming up?
Yeah. The show's over.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. All right. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for your time. It's been really, really cool to meet you. And I know you've got some other press to do this afternoon. So, yeah, thanks for your time. We're looking forward to your Australian spoken word tour in September and the Comic-Con appearances. And hopefully Anthrax back on these shores sometime soon.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much.
Cheers. Okay, thanks, Scott.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
All right, there you go. Scott Ian from Anthrax on the show today. Now, his Australian spoken word tour starts on September 24th, and details are in local guides. Check that out. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Guitar Speak podcast. Remember, we're on Facebook and Instagram, and love to hear from you. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher Radio, or pretty much anywhere you can get podcasts these days. All right, I'm out of here. My name's Matt Wakeling. Thanks again. We'll catch you next time on the Guitar Speak podcast. Bye now.